food, like an apple, if it goes bad on the inside, it still looks good on the outside. Looks good on the outside. That's fasid. It's fasid. You won't know that it's bad until you cut it open and you find that there's worms inside or something, there's a problem. And that's fasid. Fasiq is when you can already tell the food has gone bad from the outside. Meaning the corruption inside was so bad that it came out. So when someone is a fasid, they have corruption inside them and maybe you don't even see it. You don't see the corruption. That's a fasid. But when someone is a fasiq, then they have a corruption inside, but it's so strong that it's already starting to come out. People Allah will misguide are so corrupt, you can even see their corruption. Allah is going to define the fasiqeen. Who are these people that are so corrupt that they don't even deserve the guidance from Allah's revelation? It says, كَيْفَ تَكْفُرُونَ بِاللَّهِ وَكُنْتُمْ أَمْوَاتًا. The ayah begins, how can you disbelieve in Allah and you were dead? And Allah gave you life. So the ayah before was talking about people who make fun of the Quran, make fun of its examples. Those who have kufr in their heart, and they don't deserve guidance because they have fusuq. The ayah after is saying, how could you do kufr in Allah? كَيْفَ تَكْفُرُونَ بِاللَّهِ. But the ayah in the middle, which is the subject today, is the definition of the fasiqeen. Who are these people? How do you define a fasiq? الَّذِينَ يَنْقُضُونَ عَهْدَ اللَّهِ مِنْ بَعْدِ مِيثَاقِهِ. This is a multiple part definition, so I want you to keep this list in your head. The first part of this definition is those who break the promise made with Allah after the promise was binding. Allah already made a promise. They made a promise with Allah, they made an agreement with Allah, and they broke that agreement. That's the first part of the definition. I won't go into too much detail, but some things you should know about that. Before we even came to this earth, before the angel even delivered me and you into the belly of our mothers, we already made a promise with Allah. That was already made. وَقَدْ أَخَذَ مِيثَاقَكُمْ. It was already taken from you. أَلَسْتُ بِرَبِّكُمْ in Surah Al-A'raf. Am I not your Rabb? And all of us already said, before we came to this earth, بَلَا شَهِدْنَا. We testify. We already agreed. So there's something inside our nature that's already made an agreement with Allah. The Ruh has already made an agreement with Allah. So the first thing Allah is saying is these people break that agreement that was already deep inside them. Meaning they deny their own humanity. In simple language. Because if you truly accept your humanity or fitrah, you will find Allah. These people are so inherently corrupt that they have no human decency left inside them. They are believers. They accept the revelation. They say that there is such a thing as God and afterlife, and there are prophets, and there is a book. I believe all of it, but I don't care. Yeah, I'm Muslim. Well, so what? Yeah, there's an ayah. So what? Yeah, the Prophet said it, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So what? What's the big deal? Let me live. In other words, they have no problem, on the one hand, identifying themselves as people who are bound by the relationship with Allah, Islam. They're bound by that. But at the same time, they can act like they can break the rules whenever they feel like it. With no remorse. Now, all of us are human beings, including myself. We all make plenty of mistakes. We all have plenty of regrets. We have all plenty of sins. There's no shortage. But there's a difference between making a mistake and not caring about a mistake. There's a big difference between them. These people, they just break the ties whenever they feel like it. Anyway, so the first part of the definition of the fasiq is they don't care. They break the tie made with Allah whenever they feel like it. What does that look like? It looks like, hey, Allah wants me to pray 5 times a day. Okay, I'll pray 5 times a day. Allah wants me to stay away from certain things that are haram. Yeah, but I pray 5 times a day. That should be good enough. So I'm going to keep some things that Allah says. Other things I could just, break them when I feel like it. That doesn't go with my personal preference. So I can just violate whichever string, hold on to whichever parts of the deen and let go of whichever parts of the deen based on my own personal preference. Either we surrender to this contract or we don't. Now in law, whenever you have a contract, if you have a contract that's financial in nature, a legal contract, an employment contract, whatever kind of contract, it has clauses, right? It has conditions. If you don't get to say, I like conditions A, B, and C, but D, E, and F, I don't care. At least I do A, B, and C. No, if you break any one of those clauses, the contract is violated. You're going to court. Because that's what a contract is. Those who violate the contract doesn't mean they violate all of it. They're just selective about their violations. They're selective. So I could violate one part, you could violate a different part, And we just get to feel good about ourselves because at least I still do A, B, and C. At least, but nobody can go to court and tell the judge, look, there are 5 clauses, but 4 of them I'm pretty good. So you should let me off the hook. Look, there's a driver's license. I stop at every stop sign. I stop at every red light, but I never indicate when I change lanes. And I drive on the opposite side of a one-way street. So what? I stop at every red light. That's good enough, right? That logic doesn't work. They violate the conditions that allowed you to have a license. That's the first thing. Because their corruption comes out. Al-fasiqeen. The second gets scarier. It's more unexpected. Allah says, وَيَقْطَعُونَ مَا أَمَرَ اللَّهُ بِهِ أَنْ يُوصَلَ. They cut, listen carefully, they cut what Allah commanded should stay joined. Allah commanded some things should stay together, and these people cut those things apart. Allah didn't say what it is. What should stay together and what are they cutting apart? Allah didn't say. He just simply mentioned this phrase. Some things Allah has commanded should stay together, and these people cut them apart. That is about ulul arham. People, Allah has put people in my life. I didn't choose them. I didn't choose my mom and I didn't choose my dad. Allah chose them. I didn't choose my brother. I didn't choose my sister. Allah chose them. I didn't choose my cousins. I didn't choose my children. Allah chose them. Those are, now, your business partner, you chose. Your best friend, you chose. Your husband or your wife, you chose. But your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your children, you didn't choose. Who joined them together? That's Allah. That's Allah. Who joined Nuh alayhi salam and his son? His son is nothing like Nuh alayhi salam. Who joined Ibrahim alayhi salam and his father? They're nothing like each other. Who joined Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam to his uncle Abu Lahab? Who did that? And you find over and over again, who joined Yusuf alayhi salam with his murderous brothers? These were made by Allah. And Allah says in this ayah, the definition of those who are corrupt is they cut what Allah commanded should stay joined. And the Sahaba, a huge number of Sahaba and early Muslims said, this ayah is about people that you and I are connected to by blood. Ulul arham. Ulul arham. I don't have to like my cousin, but I'm joined to my cousin. I don't have to like my uncle, but I'm joined to my uncle. Nowadays, because we're in the age of TikTok and Instagram therapy, I don't like my dad, he's a narcissist. I don't like my mom, she's toxic. That's why I keep a distance. I don't call them back. You didn't have a choice. Allah commanded some ties should remain tied. I want you to understand this ayah from another perspective. In the ancient world, when these ayat came, the way we think about family now is not how we used to think about family then. You know what family was back then? Family was an entire tribe. You're born, your siblings are next to you, your dad, your mom, his brothers, they live next door, the grandparents on both sides, the whole tribe is together. There's a large family unit, and all of these are ulul arham for you. All of them are blood ties. Now that's why tribal identity was very strong. But in the modern world, with nation states, with new capitalism, what's happened? We created a hyper-individual society. In big cities, in large metropolitan centers like New York or Sydney or, places like that, or even like Hong Kong and other cities, people leave the village and they go for a university or they go for a job, right? And they leave their parents in the village and they go get a job. And so you have a bunch of people that are single, or they just got married and it's just husband and wife. Maybe husband, wife, child. Maybe that. And that's the new family. And when do you see your parents? Maybe I'll call them on the weekend. When do you see your cousins? Maybe every other Eid or something. So the family became separated. And that's part of the design of the new nation state is they don't want you to have a close connection with your family. They want you to think of your identity as an individual, not as a family. To cut it as much as possible. This is the new hyper-individualistic mentality. What did the Quran give us? Allah said there are family ties, they should never be cut. In fact, the way the Arabs understood this back then when the ayat were revealed, they already had family ties. And what Allah is saying is keep the family ties. Don't let them break. Don't let drama generate inside the family where two brothers have a fight with each other and now like, I'm never going to talk to you again. I don't want to deal with you again. And the idea that families will always have problems with each other is also a reality in the Quran. The first murder in the history is one brother killing the other. Habil and Qabil. There are brothers that are trying to kidnap and, outcast a child and throw him in a well in the Quran. There's a father who's agreed to throw his own son into a fire, like Ibrahim alayhi salam, his father. This has happened. Family dynamics are ugly, even in the Quran. So what is Allah teaching us? Allah chose one of the biggest tests in my life and one of the biggest tests in your life to be the people that are tied to you by blood. Ibrahim alayhi salam's biggest test was his father. Yusuf alayhi salam's biggest test was his brothers. Yaqub alayhi salam's biggest test was his sons. Nuh alayhi salam's biggest test is his own son. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one of his biggest tests is his own uncles. Family, over and over again. And yet Allah says, some things should stay joined. Some things should stay joined. Now, how do you keep the ties of family together at the same time when you have someone like Abu Lahab? A new term in gaming psychology called main character syndrome. Some of the young people here might be familiar. I'm the main character in my own story. Everybody else is an NPC. Right? Everybody else's background, everybody else is either the villain or a boss or whatever. I'm the victim. I'm the hero. Everything's happening to me. Everybody else has a problem. So if you hear a khutbah about jealousy, you're like, oh man, I wish my cousin was here. He's got a jealousy problem. If you hear a khutbah about anger, oh, I wish my dad was here. He's got such an anger issue. If you hear a khutbah about arrogance, oh my God, my sister, I wish she was here. If you hear a khutbah about gratitude, oh my God, I wish my wife was here. She needs to learn about gratitude. Every time you hear about something, it's not about me. Everybody else has the problem. I'm the only one that doesn't have the problem. And the other people that you are thinking about, they think exactly the same way. They think they have the sabr, they have the shukr, they have the peace, they have the justice. You're the problem. Everybody's become the main character.